The fourth quarter of the NFL season begins Sunday with a 1:05 p.m. game at Jacksonville that looms as a pivotal moment for the Seahawks and for Wilson's suddenly burgeoning NFL MVP hopes. The fourth quarter, of games and of seasons, is when Russell Wilson has always been at his best. The Seahawks quarterback has thrown 15 of his 26 two-counts this season in the fourth quarter, tying an NFL record. And in an NFL career that is now in its sixth year, Wilson has led Seattle to a record of 155 in the last quarter of the season, having thrown 46 of his career 153 two-counts in the month of December. December has already started in fitting fashion for Wilson with a 2,410 win last Sunday over a Philadelphia team that came into the game with an NFL best 101 record in which he threw 3 two-count passes. The fourth quarter of the season begins Sunday with a 1:05 p.m. game at Jacksonville that looms as a pivotal moment for the Seahawks and for Wilson's suddenly burgeoning NFL MVP hopes. Granted, individual honors pale in comparison to team success. But for the Seahawks this season, one likely depends on the other. Seattle probably can't win much of anything without Wilson continuing to play at an MVP level. "I really look at him as an MVP-type candidate in the league and I know he would have my vote," said Jacksonville coach Doug Marrone, who then detailed all the seasons why. "I think he does so many things well, not just from a standpoint of the command of the offense, correcting the offense, the ability to escape, the ability to extend, the ability to make all the throws." If you think Marrone was just buttering up an opponent, though, he's hardly alone in thinking Wilson is a legit MVP candidate. An ESPN poll this week had Wilson third behind New England quarterback Tom Brady and Philadelphia QB Carson Wentz, with those three each far ahead of the rest of the pack. Brady, having one of the best seasons of his career at age 40, might be hard to top. But if Wilson is to have a chance, it probably rests on what happens the next 2 weeks, which maybe can also be said for Seattle's season as the 84 Seahawks try to keep pace with the 93 Rams in the NFC West. Sunday presents what is on paper the toughest defensive test of the season for the Seahawks, going against a Jacksonville team that leads the NFL in fewest yards allowed per game, 282.5 points, 14.8, and sacks, 45. Next Sunday then brings a must-win game against the Rams at CenturyLink that will go a long way toward determining the winner of the NFC West. If history holds, then the Seahawks won't go down without Wilson's best effort. True, Wilson's fourth-quarter heroics are hardly anything new. His first game as a Seahawk ended with him leading last-ditch drive to almost pull out a game at Arizona, and nothing has ever really changed since. Here's a look at who appears to be the top 3 candidates for NFL MVP. The case for Brady is having an amazing season at age 40 for a team that is tied for the best record in the NFL at 102, leading the league in completions 300 but not attempts. That's Russell Wilson and Drew Brees with 442. Brady has 438, as well as yards 3,632, lowest interception rate 0.9, yards per attempt 8.3, and passer rating 109.7. Simply put, one of the best seasons so far for one of the best players in the league's history. The case against does the world really need to see Tom Brady win anything ever again? Okay, it is actually somewhat surprising to recall that he's only won the MVP award twice, in 2007 and 2010, in a good omen for non-Patriots fans. New England didn't win the Super Bowl either year. That's only one more time than kicker Mark Moseley won it, which sort of doesn't seem right. Okay, so there aren't a lot of cases against him at the moment. QB Carson Wentz, Philadelphia. The case for Wentz has been the breakout star of the NFL through the first 3 quarters of the season, leading the Eagles to a 101 record before an unfortunate loss to the Seahawks last Sunday. He leads the NFL in two-count passes with 29, throwing at least one in every game, and simply has sort of played the way an MVP seems to play most of the season. The case against too many fumbles through the end zone for touchbacks on potential game-tying two-count runs. Also, the Eagles have played one of the easiest schedules in the NFL so far. But a big performance against the Rams Sunday in Los Angeles would strengthen his case greatly. QB Russell Wilson, Seattle. The case for Wilson statistically continues to account for more of Seattle's offense than anyone in NFL history, with his passing and rushing making up 82.2% of the Seahawks' total yardage. John Kitna holds the NFL record, accounting for 81.8% of Detroit's offense in 2006. Wilson also could become just the 5th QB ever to lead his team in rushing. In other words, you don't want to think about what the Seattle offense would look like without Wilson, which is sort of the definition of an MVP. The case against: when people try to poke holes in Wilson's candidacy, they typically point to the fact that he's had a few bad games. And certainly, a review of game-by-game stats does reveal that Wilson has had some more variance in his play than Brady and went so far, with the home loss to Washington particularly standing out, and if that game proves the difference in winning the division and being a wild card, likely costing Wilson a lot of MVP support. But should Seattle run the table and Wilson continue to pile up the stats, he'll be hard to ignore. I think confidence and poise, offensive coordinator Darrell Bevell said this week of Wilson's ability to perform so well in pressure situations. He has great poise, he really does. That's not really new or news, either. But Wilson's continuing ability to thrive in the highest pressure situations led to reporters trying again this week to divine the reasons why. Wilson said having played a number of sports from a very early age prepared him to not be awed by the moment as much as anything. But Wilson also leaves little to chance, talking at length in his weekly press conference about regular meetings he has with mental conditioning coach Trevor Mowad. I think that the mind is everything really for the most part, he said. When you really think about it, at this level, a lot of people are very skilled, they can do a lot of great things and throw the ball and make catches and run and tackle and do all of that stuff. The reality is, how can people be consistent over and over and over and over again, play in and play out, game in and game out, year in and year out? And I think that's the obsession that I love to try to study and learn and continue to try and put myself in as much as I can. I just try to have a limitless mind and try to continue to think that way and grow that way. Wilson also talks often about the power of visualization, trying to place himself in situations he anticipates happening in the future, and noted that he has never played at Jacksonville. In fact, after Sunday there will be only 3 current NFL stadiums he has not played a regular season or preseason game in: Buffalo, Pittsburgh and Cleveland. I always try to visualize the stadium, Wilson said. For example, I haven't been to Jacksonville, I haven't played there before. So this may weird, but I look up pictures of the stadium and try to visualize what things look like, where the play clock is, and all of those things just so I can be comfortable before I even get there. That's just kind of something that I do on my own. Along with the limitless mind, Wilson also talked of having a dangerous mind. Specifically, how do you think outside of the box? How do you function in the midst of chaos? That latter part, functioning in chaos, has probably come in the most handy of any of Wilson's mental training this season given the nature of the Seahawks offense. Seattle has had little consistent rushing attack this season other than from Wilson himself. His 432 yards are more than twice as many as anyone else on the team, and he appears on track to become just the 5th NFL quarterback since 1970 to lead his team in rushing. And many of the team's passing plays continue to come when Wilson escapes and makes things happen. It's a hardly conventional method of winning offense. That Seattle ranks 9th in the NFL in scoring at 24.2 per game may surprise some. That probably doesn't help some judge Wilson against others. Wilson, though, says only one stat should matter. I think you have to be a winner, he said when asked what makes an MVP. I think that they make their team better, they make the other guys around them better, and I think they're the best player on the field every Sunday. Seattle looks like it's going to continue to need him to be that all season.